Okay. It gives us information relating to Gouda Washe cheese. And I'll start with we manufacture and produce various flavors of cheese and sell these to retail and restaurant sector from our own shop. And I need you to highlight this, okay? Highlight this. So factory occupies 600 square meters, administration offices and shop. I also need you to understand this is two departments. It's not just one department. It's admin as well as shops. Both of them, they occupy 200 square meters. And then they told you this is also important when the financial year ends. Tell me, what do I do with this? Opening balance. That's what we're going to do. And the other one, what is the other one? The other one is that 151,000. We're going to put it as in brackets. 2 marks for nothing. Imagine. Okay. And let's go to the other one. Work in progress. This one, let me just check your answer book. And let's see what they're asking for in the answer book. I don't see production cost statements, so they are not asking anything about production cost. Okay, they're just telling us the cost of production reflected on the production cost statement for the year was this. Okay, I'm just gonna highlight that. I don't know. So they want us to calculate cost of sales. We can't use that value. Okay, we can't use work in progress value. I can't use that value. I just want to check if I can use it anyway. It looks like I can't use it anyway. Work in progress, I can't use it anyway. Finished goods, what am I going to do with this finished goods one? Exactly. Nas. And bega, how easy it is. So when I calculate my cost of sales, okay, I started with labor here. I'm just gonna adjust it quickly so that I only start with those so that you can see what is going on. Because cost of sales here was given, and they gave us closing, okay. Let me just do this. I just want to record those two so that you see what is going on. I will start with opening balance. I'll put it first. And then I'll come with they gave us the production cost. So I'll also go to my closing balance, which is 8. I'll put 8, number 2. And then I'll put production cost, number 3. Okay, I'll put production cost, number 3. So that it follows just like that. So check what I'm going to do when I record this. Are you guys, yes? So balance, that's what I started with. And then I will minus closing balance. And then I'll just add my production cost, which is this one that they gave me here. So this is out of 6 marks. Probably by now you have 3 marks in the bag, just like that. You didn't even have to read or think or do anything. It's done, dusted, just like that. I will be adjusting them as I go. And then the last one was for indirect material. Where will indirect material go? Factory overheads, there it is. Indirect material opening. And the closing, what do I do with it? You minus. At that time, you're only reading that the balances that were extracted from financial records. Nothing. By the way, this is last year's paper, 21. It's November 2022. So just for you to see that it's that easy. It is not complicated at all. And then I'm going to go to direct and indirect material. Credit purchases of raw materials, which is 146,250, and cash purchases of raw material, which is 78,750. Those two, where do I take it? Them two. Purchases of direct material, you add them on. Are you guys? All right, let's just continue. 16,000 worth of milk, which is a raw material, right? They told you it's a raw material, was returned to the supplier. Where do I take that to again? You can subtract it from purchases, but I showed it separately because I had enough space. So I showed it separately. But if you subtract it from purchases, it's still fine. Okay, and then you put your final amount under the final column, the last column. Okay, let's just move on. And delivery of raw materials was outsourced. to a refrigeration truck service for a set fee of 1,250, but there's a problem that is per month. But what are we delivering here? What is this for? What is that truck service for? This transportation cost for? To transport what? To our factory. Ne? We are transporting them to our factory. So since we are transporting them to our factory, we are going to add it as carriage on purchases or carriage inwards. But why do I times it by 12? Because we want transportation for 12 months. That's why I'm multiplying it that by 12. It adds to the cost of raw materials. And then you will just add everything up. 143 plus 225,000 minus 16,000 plus 15,000 minus 151,000. It gives you raw materials that were used in the production. You're done. 8 marks for nothing. This is last year's paper, as I'm saying. 8 marks for nothing. Nothing, honestly. Nothing at all. I'm going to move on. And then this talks about purchases of indirect material. And then they say to you, 10% of indirect materials are used in the admin, all right? If 10% is used in the admin, how much will be used at the factory? 90%. So basically, we know that 90% will be used at the factory. But here's the thing. You don't just take that 62,000 Rand and multiply it by 90%. You take indirect materials that were used. And how do we get indirect materials that were used? You take your opening, you add your purchases. And then you minus your closing. That is your indirect materials that were used. It is the same as when we calculate packing materials used when we prepare the financial statements. It's pretty much the same thing here. And then once you get the ones that were used, only 90% of the used goes to the factory. And bayakutshela, like they tell you, bayakutshela. 10% of all indirect materials are used, meaning that 10% of the used, not of indirect material, of the used indirect materials. And for you to calculate indirect materials used, you take opening plus purchases, you minus returns, you minus your closing, and whatever you have as used, that's the value that you multiply by 90%. So 63,000 was used. Okay, so remember in manufacturing, you adjust before you allocate, So we adjusted, we found the used raw materials or indirect materials, and then you multiply it by 90%. Then you allocate, that is the allocation part of it. Okay, I hope I'm not moving too fast for you. All right, factory supervisor. Where do they fall, factory supervisors? So supervisors fall under factory. They fall under factory overheads as indirect labor. And I don't know if you watched this video. I posted a video not long ago. This one here, where, let me just recap. So where we have your raw materials, you add your direct labor, right? And then your raw materials part direct labor, and then you add factory overheads. Check what goes under factory overheads. We have indirect labor. You see the salary of four men and so on. But it's not different from the direct labor. It's just that it's gross salary that belongs to factory foreman, and it's bonus that belongs to the factory foreman, and it's overtime factory foreman, employer's contribution for the factory foreman. It doesn't go to direct labor, it goes to indirect labor. Let me just read there what they said about this indirect labor. Just wanted to show you that so that you know what we're talking about. So we have, so this factory supervisor and both shop assistants each earn the same amount and cost the business a total of 432,000 per annum on salaries, right? Now, that 432,000 is for how many people? It's for, let me just read, factory supervisor and both shop assistants. Each and the cost the business a total. Yeah. I think you missed it here. Both what? What does both mean? Together. But shop assistants. Oh, assistant. Oh. So it's 3 people. Factory supervisor, the first shop assistant and the second shop assistant. Combined, their salary will be 432,000. Do you get it? So to get the one that goes to the shop assistants, we can't include it under factory overheads because shop assistants buy a thing. That's selling and distribution. So we only care about the foreman, the factory foreman. Okay. So for the factory foreman, we're gonna put it here. We're gonna divide that by 3 to get what the factory supervisor will get, and you put it there as 144,000. Please bring that distinction. At least go paper one, pay. Come on. Okay, now here it is. The factory employs. These are the people that I actually employ. Now, how many? 4 of them. Each they earn 8,000 per month. And when we want the cost for the whole year. Okay. And then they told you they're entitled to a medical contribution of 500 per month. Who's contributing here? We're contributing for each. So it'll be 4 times 500 times 12. Okay. And for pension and contribution, it's 8% of the gross earnings. What will be your gross earnings? Gross earnings, it's this one. The 8,000, we're going to times it. You can multiply it by 8%. 8,000 times 8% times 4 times 12. Or check what I did. Check what I did. Where is that question? It's 4.2. So I took 4 times 8,000 times 12, right? And then medical contribution is what you just spoke about. Check what I did when I calculated pension. Do you think I did the calculation again? I just took that 384 and times it by 8%. And then you get your total direct cost of labor for months. Cheater. Cheater. Do you guys have any idea how much I put in to make sure that you pass well? Accounting is nothing, trust me. Accounting is nothing. Can I continue? Okay. That's all. That's all you do. That's all you do. And this is the final exam. I'm not giving you a Mampara paper here. I'm giving you last year's exam. You can see now it's IEB. So it's not something that you don't think, this guy from the summer, it's there, it's real. It was last year's paper. It's not 2015 or 2014 paper, it's last year's paper. And I'm just gonna go through to the other part. It says the following totals were extracted. A total won't help us that much. So I can't use this for now. I can't use that much. I need more information. Okay, so they say rent is paid 1 month in advance. Now, 1 month in advance means something, né? But meaning that 1 month we need to subtract it. It's in here, it's here, it's here. We need to take it out. But here's a problem. We can't just take that and divide it by 13 because what happened? In Jan, it increased. That's where you need to draw your timeline. Okay. I see what they did here. They didn't put this under financial statements and they put it here. Let me see if I drew my timeline. This is what I did. So you draw the timeline, right? You start with the beginning of the year and the end of the year. Why am I putting in Jan there? The increase. Here's the thing, given percentages are so easy. You work with the rent, the original rent amount is always at 100%. So when you increase, you're increasing for that 100. Now, it means it was 100 for how long? And we don't know, it's 100% X. It's March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. I can't count Jane. Are you counting 9 as well? December. Oh, that's what I missed. December. So it's 10 months. And
and it makes sense. So go to January, February, which is too much, it makes 12. And then you include March, it gives you 13. Why am I putting that in red? Because we don't need to do that. We don't need, exactly. It's not within our financial year. We need to take it out, basically. So remember when we did manufacturing, I said to you is adjust before you allocate. So let's adjust first. So we're going to take 10 times plus 3x times 110%. You understand that pattern? So here you're going to multiply this 3 with 110%. Okay. 3 times 110%, it'll give you 3.3. That must be equals to the total rent. Oh, Ghana, you know this already. Okay, fine. Fine. Should have told me. And then you got this, Anish. Yes. So you got 8,300 and you times it by 110%. You will get that 9,130. Remember, that's why I said, remember to adjust your expense first before you allocate or assign. Adjust your expense first before you allocate or assign. So since it's an increase, times it by 100. If it was a decrease, we're going to times it by 90. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go back to that question because I think I missed something. I can't allocate unless I have full information, okay? And what do they say here? Let me just read. They say that rent is allocated. Do you see? I've adjusted already, Anish. Now I need to allocate. That's why I say it's AVA. Adjust before you allocate, okay? So when we allocate, we want the one for the factory. But for you to be able to allocate, you need the total factory space. So you were given 600, you're going to add it with 200 square meters. It'll give you 800 square meters. Then multiply what you want by what you want, divide by what you have. And I'll show you shortly how I'm going to do that. We need 600, Anisha. So I'm going to take my rent that is adjusted, multiplied by 600 and divided by 800. So, but first I have to adjust my rent. How much is my rent? So I'm going to start with that 110,390 and then subtract the 9,130. So I've adjusted now. So now I have the rent for 12 months, which is what I want. Now I allocate by multiplying by 600 all over 800, and it will give you that 75,945. That's it. Okay, I'm gonna move on. This was supposed to take us, and then they say the factory uses 75% of water and electricity. 70%, sorry. So it means we don't need to adjust that water and electricity. We just multiply it by 70%. So that's what you do. Times it by 70%. So there's no adjust here. It's just the allocate. Times it by 70% and you get water and electricity that goes to the factory, which will be 24,640. Okay. And then what did they say about the next one? What's the next one? It's insurance, if I'm not mistaken. So what do they say about that for the 8,950? They say half the insurance belongs to the factory. But now that is us allocating. We first need to adjust. We need to figure out first, is that the correct insurance amount? Is that for the 8,950 the correct insurance expense? Does it belong to the current financial year? That's why they said here it remain unchanged, which works to your advantage now. So if they say that insurance is for 13 months, you can just divide it by 13 to get 1 month. If they say it's for 11 months, just divide it by 11. You don't need to do the X equals to things. Now, they said insurance premium for February. February is the end of the financial year, was not paid. So it means it's not included. That means that insurance is only for 11 months. So we need to add another month, which is that amount divided by 11, okay, which is for the 8,950 divided by 11. Now we have adjusted. How much of this goes to the factory? Which is percentage-wise. It's 50%. And then there you go. You get 26,700. Okay. And then they say 15,000 was allocated. I want you to highlight the word allocated. It was allocated to what? Admin and shop, meaning that there's no adjustment here. You don't need to adjust. Already it was allocated. Oh, check to office and admin. And then they tell you that it is allocated as follows, right? The 3 is for what? And the 1 is for admin offices, and the 3 is for the shop, right? But that is for what? That allocated amount is for what? That 15,960, it's allocated. And we have and, meaning that it is those two combined. And what is those two combined? It's 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. So the 4. So meaning that this is the 4. This here is the 4. And what is it that we want? We want the 3. We just want the 3. That is the 4. We want the 3, which takes you back to what I said. Multiply by what you want, divide by what you have. Okay, so I'm going to times it by 3 and divide it by 4. That's all you do. Multiply this by 3 and divide it by 4. The green, it's simply the 1 for the shop and administration, and that's it. The 4 is, it comes from 1 plus 3, which is 4. You multiply by the blue, you divide by the green. I think I made. Okay. If they said it's just security, then you're going to times it by 3 over 7. Do you get it? Here already it was allocated, and then you are done just like that. This paper was too nice, you know. This paper was too nice, to be honest. We are done. Wow, we are done. I wonder how much time we still have, but we are done. Finished goods, ne? There's something that I'm missing. I don't know what it is that I'm missing because I'm done this side, right? Okay, it means it's in the next slide. Then whatever we want is in the next slide, which is this one here. A sales assistant was caught stealing. So obviously here, you can tell sales assistant stealing. If it was a direct labor, then it was going to go to factory overhead. But here it's in the selling. It has nothing to do with the factory. It's in the selling. So what did they steal here? It was determined that she stole 1,120 kg at a cost of 65 per kg. You know your ratios from grade 8 was. So you just times the 2 to get the total cost. And that loss, they told you, but they didn't even need to tell you. It goes to selling and distribution. Okay, so if it goes to selling and distribution, in this case, it'll go to your finished goods. It'll be part of your finished goods. Okay, so it'll form part of your finished goods. And why am I saying it'll form part of your finished goods? It's because they said they were being transported to the shop, and it was stolen. So what happens to our finished goods? They decrease. Exactly. They decrease it. So we need to decrease our finished goods when we calculate our cost of sales. And that's what we did. But I need you to understand, we minus it here. Where are we going to add it? Under selling and distribution as a loss. Now, you said you watched this video, right? It's because I want to get to this question here where they say, explain why work in progress balances are so low compared to the raw materials and the finished good. What is work in progress? So work in progress. No, you don't have to stick to the definition. You can just give me. Progress, but we like doing in the factory. Exactly what we are manufacturing. It's like you have a table, but awakafaki inyawo, or you haven't painted the top, or you haven't sanded the top, or you haven't painted, or you haven't glued them together, or so this top part is there, so it's not coming together. So it means we are still manufacturing. Someone is doing the leg, someone is doing the top part, someone is screwing them in, okay? So we're not done yet. Now, they say to you, work in progress. What is the question saying? So basically, this is what's happening. It's here. We are here. We are here. Okay. So we are combining all of those and then check. We're going to add work in progress at the beginning of the year and we're going to minus work in progress at the end of the year. And what is this question saying? It says that our work in progress is lower. The closing balance of our work in progress is lower than the closing balance of inventory. And what? Let me just read. So it's low compared to raw materials and finished goods. So it means our finished goods balance is high. Our raw materials are high. But in the middle, the unfinished part is low. What could have caused that? Because we don't have time, we've just run out of time. It's because it means our production process is fast. And note that we are selling cheese here. So we don't want cheese to be work in progress. Okay, so that's why we have to produce them quickly. So once they get into the factory, we need to produce them quickly. That's why our work in progress is low. And again, each cheese where to take over from tomorrow. So it's better for you to do it when you start the production process for a cheese. You must finish it because it's going to create problems if you leave it unfinished. That is the only reason why it's low. Okay. Because our production has to be quick. We can't afford not to have half cheese manufactured. Okay, I'll just stop here. And that's it.